Serger month.
It is still Serger month. That is just feeling like very long.
Yes. And
I'm just playing over here.
we whipped up a super quick Serger zippered bag that we're gonna work on the serger here for you, and we created a fun little quick tutorial that you guys can use. And before we start with serger stuff, I totally forgot to bring the Star Spangled Banner stuff over here. Carolyn put some.
We were having some internet issues, and we were panicking that we weren't going to be able to go live because we couldn't get the internet to do its thing. Grab a bundle.
A bundle, yes. I know Carolyn put it on my desk, and then I forgot to take it over there.
This is the cute little zippered pouch. It's got the zipper sitting across the top. It is fully lined, and it is super cute, and it's pretty straightforward. We are going to just follow along. So she made the first one. So I haven't done this, so you guys can laugh right along with me when I screw stuff up. Because, you know, you screw it up the first time you do it right. So, yeah, we'll be getting here. And only used it once. Well, I can understand that. Sometimes life
gets in the way
of what you want to do and things that you have to do instead. So.
Yeah. So we have I know this is going to surprise you when I say to this, our Kimberbell order got messed up. Because that never happens to us.
It really did. We aren't just saying that. So, you know, we placed an order for X number of things.
And
it was different than our normal monthly. You know, we upped it because it was this thing instead of.
Yeah.
And we got what we normally get, not what we had changed our order to. So we were waiting, unfortunately. But that is fortunate for you guys because that means that our bonus purchase goes for longer.
Yes.
So we now have all of the pieces. So the fabrics are all present and accounted for in this beautiful, beautiful kit. The embellishment kit and the books are all here. We've got the bundles all put together.
Yep.
And
embellishment kit.
Yeah. So cool.
And the cute little book.
And the book with all of the instructions. And so if you purchase that bundle, so all 3 parts, you will not only get a discount on the whole thing, which is a 10% off, you'll also get the quilting files that we did, not Kimberbell's, just to clarify, that we created, that you'll get those for free. And it will do everything, scallop border or non-scallop border, the small borders, the flag border, everything is in there. You've got pieces and bits for everything, literally.
Yep. And if you just put a deposit down, not even an hour ago, I sent all of the balance invoices, so you can scour your email. Sometimes they get lost in there.
Yeah, you never know where ours show up. And it's not even the same every time.
No.
So
it is not.
We can't even say, just go here and it'll be there. No.
No, it's a
And then, you know, do you have an Apple or do you have an Android? Do you have?
Yeah, email, Yahoo, whatever. They go in different places, but we decided because of the Kimberbell mess up that we're going to give everybody till the end of the month to.
So that's one more week. So the 30th is next Wednesday. So you have one more whole week, even though we have that, to do a pre-order and get the bonus quilt files for free.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go.
And then I'm going to put up the presentation and we'll kind of show you a couple steps and then we'll do a couple steps and then we'll show you the next couple steps and then we'll do that. That way Lisa can follow the instructions too.
Because like I said, I haven't done this either. So, I mean, I have the concept in my head, of course, but the physical doing is not always the same as the mental read.
It is not. All right, let's find, there we go.
Yay!
All right, so this is affectionately called Zip Zip Hooray, and it is a serger-friendly zipper
Just a little zippered pouch
that you could do on your sewing machine.
It's kind of an average size. It's medium. It's not super, super big, but it's definitely not small.
No, and I'll tell you, I picked this size because you could make the whole thing from a fat quarter. So essentially what I did was I was like, well, a fat quarter is
this many inches.
Yep, and it's this wide. So I cut it in half and then I cut it in half. And that's the size
that's where you got
that the pieces were. And this print was kind of directional in a sense. So I cut them so that this would be, but you could obviously
I don't
adjust
think I
your
looked at that.
size.
Let's look at that.
You
Hold
could
that thought.
You could adjust your size according to like your fat quarter. And so I used 2 fat quarters because I did a different fabric on the
My flowers are going up now.
yeah.
It's a little,
Oh, but they'll be going. Yeah, you'll be good.
yeah.
Yes.
Now you got me doubting myself.
Yep, you're
Okay.
good.
It's not that hard to get me to doubt myself right now. It's
So we'll cut to the chase here and talk about how big you're going to cut your pieces. These are roughly 10 by 6. You could make it 10.5 by 7, 11 by 7, something like that. Just make sure that you cut all 4 pieces the same. So cut your back and your lining and your front and your top the same. And in this particular zippered pouch, we have the zipper at the top of the bag. If you wanted your zipper to be down, then what you would do instead of putting it between the line, the back side and the front side, you'd be kind of splitting your top piece.
you would have to cut that piece, which means that those need to be slightly bigger.
Yes.
Because you need to have seam allowance in there to make
Exactly.
up the same amount of space.
Yeah, you can't just do it this way and then just try to move the zipper down because it doesn't work.
It wouldn't match your lining piece.
No, the lining pieces and everything don't match. So we cut the pieces. I did put a little bit of Easy Tea on the back of the lining.
The lining pieces.
And then we are sitting on the Acclaim, and we have the 5mm cording foot on here. And the reason we have the 5mm cording foot on the machine is because there is a groove on the bottom of that that's going to allow us to actually ride the zipper. So I can change.
I can put something somewhere. Just tell me where to go. Right there, that'll work.
Yep.
So there is that groove that rides right along there. And so your zipper teeth can just stay right in that group, and that'll help you keep everything straight. In theory.
Theory, yes.
It's a good theory.
So what we're going to do is we already have our pieces cut. Lisa's putting that foot back on the machine.
Sure I am.
And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to basically start sewing the zipper on. There are a lot of different ways that you could sew the zipper on and a lot of different settings that you can sew the zipper on. And if you Google it, you'll probably get like 9 other.
Evidently, I'm foot challenged today.
You'll get a whole bunch of different setting options. When we're done with this, we can give you a little bit of a close-up on the zipper. The first one I used a 4-thread. And when you do a 4-thread, that needle,
that width is,
it's very, very wide and it's almost too close to the zipper. I was concerned the zipper wouldn't open. It did open. And then on the other side of the first one, I did a 3-thread narrow, which gave me just a little bit more breathing room there. We are using a plastic zipper, and so it's safe for us to stitch over, but there is a little, like a little stopper here.
yeah, and that's not.
That did want to get stuck underneath my foot when I was stitching through it, so be mindful of that part. The question is, does the foot come with the Acclaim? No. It could have come with a kit that you might have gotten or purchased, but it does not come with it.
But it's just a standard. Like all the rest, they just come with the one, unless you get a foot bundle with your purchase.
Exactly.
But they're all available individually, as well as there are some that are in kit.
And this one is like $34, $33.99.
$33.99.
Yeah. So, and that again is the 5mm cording foot, and it is available for our 4-thread machines or our combo machines.
Right. So the first, did we do this? You just talked about what we needed.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do the instructions here.
Yep. So we're going to put the fabrics right sides together.
So I've got my pretty sides right here and right here, and I'm going to make a sandwich with my zipper.
Yep.
So you want your outer fabric to be on top of the zipper, and you want your lining fabric to be underneath the zipper.
Yes.
Otherwise, you will make the executive choice to have them switched.
Yes. Otherwise, the lining will
The
be
lining
the
will be the outside. So, and I'm just going to line up that zipper with my groove there to get everything started. Am I jumping ahead?
Yeah. No, let's go ahead.
Okay.
Why isn't it working?
Telling you, I really need that. Yep. There we go. That little zipper stop that she was talking about didn't really want to go for me either. Thank you. Okay, let's try again. There we go.
There we go.
All right, so I'm going to realign because things got shifted around while I was messing with that. So, and I am using Wonder clips to keep everything where it's supposed to be versus pins, because pins and sergers don't play nicely together.
We have this set up for a 3-thread narrow, but we do have the stitch width kind of wide.
As wide as you can be.
As wide as we can be with that. And then we have our stitch selector dial on B.
Yeah, it did the same thing to me that it did to you.
Yep.
These are not scissors.
All right. Try that.
So what we're mumbling about is my fabric pushed just a little bit, so I'm not as even coming off that as I was when I started.
Joan asked, could you cut the zipper stop off before starting serging? Absolutely. Just make sure you don't pull your zipper off.
Yes. So we've got seam. You can see our seam nice and easy because we have turquoise thread in there.
Yep.
And we have basically made a sandwich. So I am sewn both to the front and the back of the zipper. So now I need to do that again.
Yeah, and sometimes it's easier to press now than it is when you have your second piece over there. You want me to go over there? Or you do that and I'll bring up the
You bring that up while you do that, while
Okay.
I'm doing this.
Okay, so we just did the 3-thread overlock. We have our stitch length at 3.5, our stitch width at 3.5, differential feed. We had ours on normal. I think if you bump that up to 1, it might help a little bit if your fabric shifted on you a little bit. And then that stitch selector is on B. And a couple things to note when you're putting that zipper in. Make sure that you have the zipper right sides together with the fabric edge where you want to insert it in. So pretty side of the fabric to the pretty side of the top zipper, and then your lining pretty side to the wrong side of the zipper so that they marry up there. And then use those Wonder clips because you don't want to put pins in. And before you start serging, double check to make sure that you have everything lined up the way that you want it, because it's really no fun to pull out the serger stitches. It's definitely doable, but it does make a big old mess. And I know you don't want to make a big old mess. And so then what you do is you just flip that over and you press it. Now you could top stitch around this, and after Lisa is finished with this and she is pressing the other side, I'll talk to you about the pros and cons of top stitching and why you might want to and why you might not want to.
Okay. Which flowers need to be which way? All right.
Not super noticeable.
A little bit more going on this time. So we have all of our originals along with our 2 new pieces. Working the other side of the zipper. And I'm just going to get that all lined up. So this is the one that stretched on me last time. So
The nice thing is if that happens to you, you can just square it up when you go to serge around
Absolutely. It doesn't, it's just going to change the finish size by a hair.
Yep.
And it won't matter at all.
No one knows. We're using a 14-inch number 3 zipper.
Can I get this underneath there? Or do you have a better tip?
I think you got enough space. Otherwise, you can sew from the other side.
The other side, I could. But I think I'm in.
I think you are too. Yeah, it looks like you're okay.
I need to go over just, I'm not in the groove.
Ah.
All right.
I was gonna say, what if we put the knife up maybe? Does that help? There you go.
So I'm fussing with my zipper head is under my foot. So the other option, like Sarah was saying, is I could flip the whole thing around and basically sew it. I'm trying to keep my lining on, or my lining on the bottom and whatnot for visual purposes.
Yeah.
But I could flip that over and just sew the other direction. So I'm starting at the other end and go this way instead.
Yeah, which is fine.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Results will be the same. But it is working. So we're gonna just make sure we are lined up. And snip that little guy. So there we have side number 2. Got a hold. Ooh. That didn't stay in my groove.
It did not.
No, it did not. Well, we're going to have to fix that. We're not going to be able to keep going looking like that. Guess that zipper head on the other side was a really bad idea. Told you guys could laugh right along with me.
Yeah, you did cut off a little bit of the zipper
Just
tape.
a little bit. This should be a fun...
it might not work.
No, this might not. So, don't do what I just did. This is going to be fun. All right. You got any more pieces?
Mm-mm.
So, what do you want to talk about?
All right, so let's go back to our instructions. We need another zipper.
Oh,
Can you bring us the zipper? That white one.
Because I took off like the whole tape.
Yeah, we're gonna just try it again. Let's just chop both sides and redo it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh.
The lovely thing about
So if you guys have ever wondered, we are 100% live. In case you've ever wondered, wow, this is bad.
We're gonna just install the zipper again.
Yes, we are. Maybe we're gonna switch who sews because I evidently really suck at this. I did so good the first time. I was so proud.
Woo! It's like magic without movie magic.
Yeah. So trying to put the zipper head underneath the foot was a bad idea.
All right. So I'm gonna do what Dorothy suggested, and I'm gonna clip off the plastic part that was in our way earlier. All right, and I'm gonna bring up the instructions, or the destructions.
I am seeming to be.
All right, so after we're done with that, we would potentially top stitch, and when we get to that part, I'll show you that. So that's like the first part of the bag. Do you want me to go rotary cut?
Maybe.
We'll just trim the whole thing down a bit.
Okay.
It'll be fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
fine.
So a little bit about top stitching before she gets into the nitty gritties of what you can do and what you can't. Just in case anybody wants to know, I cut off like the entire zipper tape on that side, like literally the whole thing.
She cut off all the zipper tape.
It felt like it was way over there, but it looked like it was fine, but it wasn't. So, when you top stitch, it takes that fold of when you press that over and then you top stitch that down, it holds all of
What's that?
the fabric.
No,
into
that's why I'm just
position.
cutting it off.
Otherwise, sometimes it will kind of roll in and makes it harder to
Just zipping along.
get to the zipper. In my case, there was really no zipper to get to. I sewed right over top of it, but you don't want to do that. So maybe we'll make Sarah sew. What do you guys think?
It sounds like I'm going to be in the hot seat now.
Because evidently I just didn't do that right. Woo.
Maybe on the diagonal was better.
Maybe. Yeah, when she did it, she had everything shifted sideways because of where the camera was at. And she was attempting to keep that all in there. But, oh, the little things. So, trying to get this underneath the foot and staying in the groove. So that's what happened is it got pushed out of the groove. So my zipper wasn't in the groove, and that's why the whole thing slid over. And the reason being was because I was trying to start with that underneath the foot. So if we start this direction, we won't do that. I'm sorry?
You want me to go?
No, it's fine. If I screw it up again, then
we're out of zip.
We're out of everything. And all right, so top of my guy here. Which way is my flowers going? Yup. Check one.
I cut the little plastic doohickey off, so it should be easier.
It'll go right underneath there. So we are once again going to line this up.
We're going to start at the beginning again.
For any of you who missed it or came in late, I totally did that on purpose so that we'd have to start over. No, I totally did not. You're probably not going to want to do what I did. That was a little frustrating. So no matter how good your serger is, if you suck, you can't.
You can go a little closer to the end now to give yourself some more room over here because that piece won't be there.
Be in the way.
Yep. Miss Shirley, we are using the cording foot.
The 5mm cording foot. All right. So we're just going to slide that zipper right in the groove. Look at that. There we are. And did the first one fine. The second one that was not so hot, right?
And I tried to run my fabric kind of like on the edge over here. So it would be just skimming the fabric a little bit, in theory. I did move the differential feed up. Is it
it's still
worse?
No,
better?
About the same.
Okay.
All right. Let's see how I did.
It looks like you did good.
Well, I did okay the first time, but it's that third time's the charm. So there's beautiful zipper coverage there. That can absolutely work. Now we're going to repeat on the other side. So I am going to get everything prepped, but then I'm going to flip it upside down and I'm going to sew with the other direction. So we're going to, again, if you have directional fabric, make sure it is going the right way. A little extra thread in there.
I should have cut that end off.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, and pretty side to pretty side. Match that up. So is there any difference in the teeth being upside down when you're using the foot?
It might slip around a little bit more, but it should still grab in the same space. A lot of times when I do this, one of the things that I like to use the bigger zippers, like the number 5 zippers, because the teeth are a little bit thicker and I can feel them a little bit more. But I found with this zipper, honestly, as long as I keep the edge sort of at the bed of the machine there, it usually works off well.
So I also skipped pressing that so that we could keep going a little better since I took up some time here.
Jane is asking, do you have to take the cutter off to make the bag? We didn't actually turn the cutter off. It is on.
She turned the hand wheel so the blade went up higher so that the fabric could slide underneath.
Yes. If the blade had been off, Lisa wouldn't have cut off the entire zipper.
No, I wouldn't have cut anything off. It all hung out in there and it would have been perfect.
But you do have to be mindful of that. So if you take the blade off, if you turn the blade down, what happens is you get kind of like some garp that happens along the edge. And
I can't feel it because of the bump of the fabric. I'm just double checking this time before I cut it all off again.
So you get garf over the edge because you've got the fabric starts to try to roll over the edge. When you keep the blade up, you can accidentally overshoot and cut off, or cut maybe not the entire zipper off, but you can cut it very close. Yeah. Also, the number 5 zippers are a little bit wider, so you have a little bit more wiggle room versus the number 3 zippers. But that is perfect.
Okay. Fingers crossed, everybody. What do you think? Oh, look, there's a whole zipper.
Woo, we can see a zipper.
I can see the zipper. So we've got a beautiful zipper in the center there and a beautiful zipper in the center of our linings.
Nice.
Yay! It's the little things in life, I tell ya. Woo! So absolutely do not put that foot underneath the zipper, or the zipper head underneath the foot.
Yeah.
Because that does not work at all.
Jane, the technical term for garf is stuff you don't want. So icky stuff, like or nasty looking seam, because because you'll have extra fabric inside there, so the seam won't look nice. It'll just be icky.
Yep. So since we're not top stitching, did you want to talk about whatever while I should press?
Yes, you press, and I will change the camera to this one. And we'll talk about what happens when you top stitch. So if you are a bag maker, you might already know this. And if you're not a bag maker, then you'll have a little bit extra knowledge. So when we top stitch, and we top stitch through both the top layer and the lining layer, we do that so that we can get the fabric out of the zipper's way. But when we do that, when we go to make the corner, the fabrics are kind of stuck together, so you don't get a nice, flat, even corner in there. There are 2 ways to avoid that. You could top stitch just the outer layer fabric and not do the lining. You could add a zipper tab to the edge, which would make that a little bit easier. Or like if your zipper is down, then you wouldn't have that because your zipper would be over here. So we're not going to top stitch the edge, and then when we flip it around, you'll see that it's going to be a little bit cleaner at the top because of that. But that is basically kind of like the decision that you have to make when you're thinking about top stitching it. So if you have a cover hem style machine, you could go into the chain stitch and you can do that, or I actually just went to the sewing machine because that's was quicker and easier for me, and that was set up, and then I just top stitched. But you can see I did top stitch through both the top and the bottom layer. The other thing that you can see if you look really closely, this is the side that I did with a 4-thread, and that zipper and that fabric edge, there's hardly any space there. This is the side that I did with the 3 thread, and there is a little more wiggle room there. If you are planning on not top stitching, if you have that zipper that close, it's likely that your lining fabric is going to get stuck in there, which won't be any fun. I'm sure that's happened to you at some point in your life. You have a, you know, your inside lining of your jacket or something gets stuck in your zipper, and it's
so frustrating.
It's so frustrating. So when you are matching up your side seams here, this is the part that's hard. If we had this top stitched, then this piece would be down, like stitched over that. So you can't get a nice flat. So this lays flat like this. And then we can just pinch the side seams down. Whereas when you have the top stitching there, nothing lays flat because you have almost like a little, as you can see, you have like a little pleat that's there. So do you want me to do this since I'm here?
Matter.
Okay. So when you go to finish this, you're going to basically serge all the way around. You have to make sure that you open up your zipper a little bit, and you're going to need to leave an opening in the bottom. Because I'm serging, it was easier for me to leave the entire
bottom. It's hard to start and stop these seams.
Yes.
Because you have to literally sew off the fabric to stop it. So rather than attempting to sew, 3 inches in, stop, veer off, and then go back in and veer in and sew 3 more inches, just leave that whole bottom edge undone, and then we can sew it later.
Exactly. So, and you could sew the inside with your sewing machine, and you could tuck it in, and then it wouldn't be that noticeable. Or, of course, if I had sewn it with thread that matched instead of this bright teal fabric.
And then when, I don't know if you said this, and I apologize, when you do, you want your zipper head to go towards your outside pieces, not your lining.
Yes.
So when you fold that center seam in, if you haven't top stitched and you have the ability to do that, you want the zipper to be pushed towards your outsides, not your insides. Otherwise, when you go to turn it, you'll have a little poof on the outside.
Yep.
And it won't lay quite as nice.
So we're going to open the zipper about 3/4 of the way. And then
I started, but that's not. Do we need
flip the camera? Yeah.
That one?
Yep.
Okay.
And then I'm going to just try to get this to lay in this direction here so that when I plop it out, it's better.
So when you can pin it, or I'm sorry, clip it.
Yep.
And then just pull the clip and kind of hold your finger on it so it stays where you want it as it's going through the blade.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm at home, I will pin like way back here in place to
where
help.
It's away from any issue.
Yeah, and that way I don't have to turn anything. And you can see that we had a little bit of like fabric shifting.
It shifted, so we'll just sew where the fabric is and cut off the excess. We'll make our bag just a hair smaller, but again, it doesn't matter because it's not like this has to fit inside anything else. And your lining is the same size, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And so I am going to start on this edge down here, and this is great because I'll be sewing forward, which is the natural direction that I want my seam to go. So you could go back to your regular foot here if you want. Doesn't matter.
It's not going to hurt anything to have that groove underneath the foot for what we're doing here. Are you over far enough to catch that other piece? Because
should be
hidden. Okay.
Yep.
It was just hidden.
I know.
Thought I'd throw that out there. Try to save us another oops.
Don't sew through your finger.
Don't sew through your finger, and just take it easy when you go over the zipper.
Yep. There's a lot of different ways that you can start and stop this corner piece here. I'm just going to tuck this under. We could be neater about it, but it's going to be on the inside, so I'm not really going to worry about it at all.
And on the flip side, if you actually cut it and just start it over, what would that do?
Nothing.
There you go.
It's that side that's always the harder side.
Yeah. the
There we
side
go.
that's open is the one that's
Yep.
not as easy. So we're literally just going all the way around 3 sides, and we do want to include, whoa.
That was close. And I'm gonna to tell you a little trick because I can. I'm gonna flip this around to the other side so that I'm sewing towards the top again. That way I can push that zipper piece up. And
the only thing you want to look out for that is that you are not going to have a bubble at the end. So line those up. As best as possible.
okay.
Side number 3, just going to do the exact same thing. Again, make sure that you are attempting for your zippers to go towards the front, not the lining. Not the end of the world if it doesn't, but.
Okay. And then you want to change the camera?
I can. Dun, 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 dun.
We got a hole. So
Turn that whole sucker through that.
Yep. And if you pop your zipper up, it's a lot easier to push. That I don't know if you knew that locks it, but it does. I think I tried that a long time without just flipping the head over, and so much easier. Okay, so now you can double check to make sure that
you caught everything. You don't have a hole.
You're caught, absolutely, because you never know. You can poke your hole a little bit. Your little turning tool is great for this. And then before I sew this up, I am going to stuff it inside just to make sure that I'm...
Do you need to cut off extra? Is it too big? Did something change?
Right.
All of those little things. So you can pre-check. So it's automatically going to take a little bit off just by way of it's a serger.
Yep.
So look at that.
And you could also, before you sewed that up, you could go back to your sewing machine and you could actually top stitch. You wouldn't be able to get all the way over here, but you could come in and you could top stitch all of those pieces out of your way a little bit, so you could do that afterwards. You know, you can get this pretty flat on your machine and work that area, but you did cut out the majority of that zipper. So you do want to be mindful that you don't yank it too far, because you can definitely
yank the head right off and pull that. Yep.
Yep, you can definitely do that. But then all we have to do is fold up that inside piece and serge across. So I can do that.
So to the lining pieces, we're going to just pull that back out because everything fits inside. It's the same.
Yep.
No new ones. I'm doing my job. And so obviously, if you were making this for yourself or someone else, you probably wouldn't want bright turquoise thread at the bottom. You would try to match that fabric as best as possible. But for our purposes, it doesn't matter.
Right. And one of the really nice things is when you're doing something like this is if you go to stuff this in and you didn't cut off enough, you can just
go back and do it again and take off a little bit more, and then it'll work.
Yep. And I did put the interfacing on the lining piece because in my mind I was thinking that that would be better. I think if I were going to make some of these, I think I might line both.
Do both?
Yeah.
Give it a little more shape.
Just a little more.
The only thing I think that would make harder is the pressing away from the seam if you weren't top stitching, which not top stitching makes the sewing around the outside easier, but it makes the zipper a little bit less free flowing. Shake it out. So shake it up.
Yay!
Look at that.
Look at that. Oh, it's not really straight.
That's all right. That's okay.
There we go. It's cute though.
So super simple. Obviously, we're in a hurry and doing all, not always perfect when you're
right
on camera. It never seems to fail.
We can go to section B and
I can't
put
read that.
So fourth one in. Tap that.
Where? Oh, I have to hit this
yeah,
one.
Yep. Add to stage.
Dun, 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 dun.
There we go. So after we're done after we're done serging, then we do the flip and press, and then let's arrow through. Oh, it didn't take that one off. Go to the third one over and hit remove. There we go. There we go.
So big important step. Don't forget to open the zipper.
Yes.
That's always a bummer.
Yes.
Bag will be a little shorter otherwise because you'll have to rip that back out, and
which is obviously doable.
Obviously is doable because, we did it.
Yeah.
Even being live. But
yes.
So we're going to open that zipper and then right sides together. You can see the picture here. So lining to lining, front to front. Again, check your zipper direction. You can clip that, whatever it is that floats your boat. What we did is sewed these 3 sides.
Yep.
Left this entire thing open because it just makes it a lot easier. By all means, you could hand sew that closed if you are freaking out about having an open seam at the bottom.
Yep.
But honestly, I've never had an issue with that. But just as a reminder, it is much easier on a serger to sew one whole thing versus trying to sew this far, stop, veer off, and then veer back in over here and finish that out. So leaving that whole bottom open is definitely much easier than trying to veer off because it's just not, it never works like you think it's going to.
It does not.
You end up cutting fabric that you didn't mean to cut or something.
True.
It just doesn't really work. And then you go zoom, and you stitch all the way around. Make sure that you leave a minimum of a 3-inch opening so that you can turn that through there again. We left the entire base there. And you can do either a 4-thread or a 3-thread.
Yep. The advantage of going to a 4-thread after you do the zipper would be a little more secure.
Yes. Have a little bit more bite in your stitch.
If you're planning on really loading up your zippered pouch with a bunch of stuff.
If you're going to go stone hunting and this is going to be your stone pouch, you might want a little extra oomph in there. So,
do you need to bury the chains on the last seam you serged? What I would probably do is I would probably just tie a little knot on the end, put a little fray check and clip it. But you could definitely, you got that long seam. You could definitely
you've got a long piece that you can do that. You could very easily, with a double-eyed needle, just pull that in there and call it a day.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yep, either or.
Or if you don't really care, you could just clip them not like right at that and just leave them down there depending on how you're going to use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for a finished look, yes, you would want to do something and either fray check or pulling in the seam.
Yep.
Yep, for sure. All right. So you're going to turn that right side out and make sure everything looks good. You can clip your corners for a better, again, we are going really fast, so we're just trying to get everything done. If you want a sharper point in those corners, you can clip them, obviously, just like anything else. But just make sure you're not cutting your seams off, because that's bad. And then press those out. So the clipping is not, with serging,
you have hardly any.
You have almost nothing that you can clip. So
right.
Be very, very mindful if that's what you are looking for. And stitch your lining closed, and then there you go. So pros and cons to top stitching. Totally, it makes the zipper, the around sewing easier because it can lie flat.
Yep.
but then you don't have, I mean, I think this zipper is functioning very well.
Yep.
Second time I did a good job.
Yes.
Second time's the charm. But again, super simple. You could pre-cut these. You could do everything in like, you know, batch whatevering if you wanted to make a whole bunch, and it could go really, really fast for you, for sure. But you don't have to change your stitch unless you want to change to a 4th thread later. But you don't have to, depending on how it's going to be used.
Right.
So lots of fun, super simple, and pretty straightforward there. So zip, zip, hooray, we're done. That is the crazy. It's a little scary that we're running around with rotary cutters.
I mean, I think it's fun. They're like our superpower. We can rotary cutter with both hands.
And we'll cut you. No, that's our no? Okay, maybe not. I thought it was funny. When she showed it to me, I was like, oh, we're going to just cut a bunch of people. Don't mess with us.
That's right.
We got sharp implements.
Those are our swords.
Yes. Lightsabers.
That's right.
You got to have
the force is with us.
Force is always with us. Just never know what it's forcing us to do. There you go. So lots of fun, quick project, and of course, can change how it looks hugely just by swapping out fabrics. So
yes,
I mean, I suppose you could get crazy and like piece something and use that as your fabric if you really wanted to. So you could get very creative.
Yeah.
That takes away the speed of it. But there you go.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd like, you know, sometimes you end up with orphan blocks and things like that. So it, you know, depending on whatever size that block is, you could use that for
sure,
your zippered pouches or something like that. It makes it super simple. But this is the Baby Lock Acclaim again.
So how easy?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you totally missed the groove on your zipper. Everything else was super easy though. So don't put the head under the foot. Don't put your head under the foot.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Oh,
it's so much fun.
So much fun screwing up live.
Means we're live.
We are absolutely live.
Yep.
You don't have to doubt that. Oh, very much so, for sure.
Yep.
So, but sergers can be a lot of fun. So, I mean, yes, they're a lot of times very utilitarian. You're going to hem, you're going to shorten, you're going to construct. Maybe it's just I want to sew around the edges of my fabric so I don't get garf coming out of, had to use that term.
Garf.
Get garf coming out of your dryer when you wash everything, because that's a hot mess.
Yes.
That would prevent that. So, I mean, that's a very simple usage of this, but it's very effective.
It is.
Very, very effective. And
I mean, or you could just buy a serger and just make cording.
Well, yeah. Piping
and cording.
Piping
it's so
and cording.
Much fun
it is so fun.
on the serger with this
That's
foot.
probably one of my favorite feet. I love to make piping.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to pop it into a seam.
Yeah.
Because you just basically do exactly the same thing you did the first time, but you add other fabrics and then boom, you've got piped edges. And
yeah.
How fun is that?
I know. I love making piping. I think I like making piping more than I like using piping. But it's so
you don't always have a place to put it. But yeah, no, it's so easy to do those little things.
Yeah.
You know, you just take a cord and like a 2-inch strip of fabric and plop it in there and you get this beautiful, perfectly matched.
It's fun.
It is. It's very fun.
So fun.
So the point of this, other than me totally screwing that up, was how quick and easy this can be.
Yep.
So I was trying to challenge myself, which was not a good idea. I actually thought it was lined up. So I'm not really sure what happened where
it went wrong.
About halfway through I went, that didn't go very well, but I guess I should just keep going. But anyways, it is very, very easy to do simple projects and not even having to rethread, which that's what most people kind of like, I don't want to have to rethread it. It's so hard. How do I?
Right.
That's what's, you don't have to do that for lots of things.
Yeah. Easy peasy.
And as long as you're smart about it, inserting a zipper is super easy.
I mean, always make sure that that's not the only zipper you have. That's my best tip.
Well, there is that. But honestly, I did know partway through that didn't go quite like I wanted. I didn't think it was as bad as it was, but yeah, you can tell. So you can stop and adjust and whatnot, but I was hoping it would work still. I knew it was bad, but I was hoping that it would still
Was it that
function.
bad?
I was hoping it would still function, but
Oh.
unfortunately the force was not with me on that one. So, all right. Well, do you have anything else? All right. Well, don't forget the Star Spangled Beauty. You have one more week to order this beautiful letter. It has a really cool scallop top and bottom border. It's just a little different, so it's something a little bit fun and different. And look at these beautiful fabrics. I mean, they are just so pretty. And everybody's all American, right? I mean, that's the, yeah, well, not everybody. I know we've got some Canadians. Hi, Dean. But yeah, it's definitely a beautiful piece. So
Speaking of piping, what size cording do you use?
what was that one that we had? 532, I think 532. You could go a little smaller and be okay. You don't want to go too small because you want that piping to be full and robust.
Yeah.
But you do want it to fit in the.
You probably want to be half an inch or less for this foot to work well.
That's a good stab.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And any combination of anything less than that.
Yep. But yeah, you just literally take a strip, you wrap it around there, you tuck it in where I tucked the zipper teeth, and sew.
Away you go.
And it cuts off the excess, and you just have this perfectly wrapped piece of cording that becomes your piping that you can add into anything else. So very fun. Very, very fun. Anything else you want to
I got
throw
nothing.
out? All right.
Nope.
Well, even with totally screwing that up, we're actually done early.
Woo!
How about that? Ripping out a seam, cutting out the fabric, and we still made it in under an hour. So
Not too bad.
not too bad. That's not the right one. There we go.
Okay, well, next week, Wednesday morning, the DDE, the digital dealer, will go live. We'll have the link in the email that goes out next week, Wednesday. We won't be live, but the video will be live.
Will be available at that time.
We'll be live doing something in the afternoon.
Yeah, we haven't figured that out yet.
No.
Maybe we should do Star Spangled Beauty.
Maybe we could start that.
We
That
could
would be
start
fun.
that maybe. Who knows? We'll figure
Yes.
it out. We'll let you know next week.
Yes.
All right. We will see you then.
Yep.
Have a great one.
Bye.